When I was 13 years old, I was taken for an abortion after I was sexually assaulted by an uncle. I had just started to babysit, and through that babysitting, my uncle assaulted me, and I didn't tell anybody what happened. Eventually, I ended up telling someone on my bus on the way to school, and she ended up telling the school counselor. And I was sitting in choir class, and the school counselor came and got me and had asked if I had been sexually abused. And of course, I at first said no. And then eventually I ended up telling her that I did get sexually abused by my uncle. And I remember just feeling so afraid because I knew my parents were going to come. And it wasn't that I didn't think that they were going to believe me. It was more so of just the trauma of not knowing what was going to happen. And I remember my parents coming and picking me up from school and going to a doctor's office. And we had gone to a Catholic pro-life doctor, and hearing the word pregnancy for the first time and hearing the word abortion for the first time and not knowing what abortion even meant. And I remember the doctor asking my mom if we wanted to go for an abortion, and her saying that that's what we were going to do. I was very uneducated. I had no clue. And just also, my mom really thought that abortion was going to be the thing that helped. I remember before we even went to the clinic, I remember them saying, the people outside hate you guys, so walk in quickly. That particular day, I don't remember anybody being outside the clinic, and we went inside, and as a 13-year-old, I was separated from my parents. I was told that it was just a clump of cells, and so they asked if I was ready for the abortion, and still at this point, I had no idea what abortion was. I thought that we were at a regular doctor's office, and I thought they were going to help us, but I wasn't sure what help that was. So I nodded my head yes. I was taken to a room where that was the first time I ever met George Clawford, and he looked at me and he said, "This won't take long." And what I can tell you is that I have given birth to 2 children without any medication, and the abortion was the most painful thing that I had ever experienced in my life. I remember just screaming in pain and him just looking at me and telling me to shut up. What I would find out later is that my mom could hear me screaming from the waiting room, and she wanted to help me, and they told her that she couldn't help me. After the abortion was done, I was taken to a recovery room. It was just a bunch of ugly brown vinyl recliners in a room, and just women sitting in those recliners. No one looked at each other. No one said a word to each other. And when it was time to go, I ended up hemorrhaging everywhere. And instead of any care being given to me, my dad just had to pick me up, put me over his shoulder, and we got in the car, and we all wanted to forget what happened that day. My parents thought that they were doing the best thing on that day, but really what happened was my mom ended up having a mental breakdown, and she ended up being checked into a mental hospital for 2 weeks. My dad eventually left our family, and I turned to drinking at a young age. I turned to premarital sex. I ended up getting pregnant again at 16, still very naive about what abortion was. And Planned Parenthood had just been in our school. And so we ended up going to Planned Parenthood, and they said, "You're young, you're in school, you should abort this baby." My boyfriend, who is now my husband, asked the question if we should abort that baby. And that was the first time I shared my story. We made the decision to choose life in the parking lot of Planned Parenthood. We just had support of a church family that really helped us be able to graduate high school. Unfortunately, the abortion wound followed us through our married life and really almost cost us everything. You know, I always say that We can't help what someone has done to us, but it is a heavy weight and a heavy responsibility to know that you are responsible for ending the life of someone else. I'm so thankful that I've been able to find healing and the freedom through Jesus to now share my story and to give my daughter Eliana Grace the dignity that she deserves. Abortion never undoes the trauma of sexual assault. What we really needed was access to counseling, biblical counseling, and also we needed people to support us as we went to court and we took the rapist to court. We needed people to make sure that he didn't get out and continue harming women. That's what we needed. And so I'm so thankful for abortion recovery, but abortion never undid my trauma.